Hey there. I recently had an inquiry from a fellow who has gotten a kilt and it doesn't fit him. And he'd asked he's sort of thrown out a general inquiry about what he needed to do. So I'm fortuitously, this kilt's been brought to me, and I believe it covers many of the same steps. So as much as we can, because my photographer has a schedule, I've got a deadline. I'm going to do my best to photo diarize this thing, and it may wind up being therefore on my Facebook page as an album in which we have still images as well as videos. But we're going to do our best throughout this process to diarize the whole process to help that individual learn how to do it for themselves. So what we have here, and to get this kilt ready in time for its debut. Now this thing is remarkable, and again, this I've mentioned this before, how long cloth can last, how durable this stuff is. If we can see from the label, this is from the 1948 contract for the Seaforth. So we can see from the broad arrow that that's British Army, not Canadian Army. So this has come down through various ways and means to this young fellow who just wondered how to restore this thing to make it wearable, because it's not wearable now. And he found my YouTube channel and came over and we had a chat. I took his measurements, and we're going to make this as new as possible. We're going to make this wearable. This thing's 72 years old, and I predict that when I'm finished this, when the new canvas and lining and everything else has been done, that this will be wearable for at least another 30 years. So there's 100 years out of a kilt. In the meantime, we can see what we have to do. There's been a very well-meaning attempt by somebody with a sewing machine to reinforce the old leather straps. So we're going to replace those. There are, if we look through the front apron and the light behind, you can see a couple of moth nips. You can see a couple of spots where the light's shining through, and I think there's one on the inside as well. So we're going to repair those moth holes. We're going to darn them. We're going to stabilize them with silk thread. The pleats have burst, and they've been variously repaired, shall we say, but more enthusiastically than accurately. So we can see there's a couple of offset pleats here that have to be taken apart and resewn. This pleat has burst, and that one has burst, and there's one that's been poorly resewn, and you can see how the material's been pulled, because as good as they were, I can't beat up the people that made this kilt too badly, because A, they're dead by now, but they didn't think this thing was going to last as long as it did. And I'm not sure exactly how many years the British Army predicted to be the lifespan of a kilt. I'll put an inquiry in, and maybe somebody will answer. Although the way to find that answer is I will state authoritatively that it was X number of years, and any number of educated trolls will immediately pop up and say, nope, it was actually Y years, and show the documentation. Sometimes that's the only way to do some research. Right, so we've got at least eight pleats to resew. Although frankly, when one pleat stitching goes, you're pretty well stuck doing every one of these darn things, because if that's going, I have to assume the rest of them are about to go. We have a very bad repair here where the cloth's been damaged. I'm going to talk to my associate, my apprentice, who's extremely adept at other forms of tailoring, to see if we can splice in a good piece of cloth here. Because if this was being worn by a soldier, that would almost be certainly covered by a belt when he was in short sleeve order. When he's in jacket order, when he's wearing his coat, of course it's covered, but that's still staring at us. We're going to try to fix that. We're going to alter it so that it fits. There's another couple of holes to repair. On the pleating themselves, we can see this is what happens when we take it to a dry cleaner to be pressed. We have these pie-shaped pleats, these wedge-shaped pleats. We're going to correct those and press those. We're also going to clean this thing because, frankly, it's a bit aromatic. It's actually kind of funny because you'll steam press one of these things and you can smell. Oh, right, you smoke cigars, I see. Right. Again, there's a bit of repair there. The lining, of course, has to be replaced. This is wonderful cloth, but the color's a bit unfortunate because it tends to show sweat stains. We do have a supplier that actually can provide this proper stuff, but I might go with an alternate. The canvas, of course, has come away from the tartan, and that is what caused the pleats to blow, because these seams are not strong in tension. We can see that. So a broad piece of canvas is going to go in. That canvas, as we've seen in earlier videos, is going to be one continuous piece from the buckle there all the way to the strap there. We're going to see if we can put a buttonhole in the left hip so that the strain on the kilt is communicated, or is borne, I should say, by the inner apron. So new canvas. The steeking, the reinforcing stitching that goes along here, has failed. We can expect it to, because we didn't expect it to last 72 years. But we're going to redo that. The elastics are a joke. We're going to replace those. This is the most sad way of doing things I've ever seen, because the whole thing's sewn with a very loose overhand stitch, which really isn't right. It's the most astonishingly awful job I've ever seen. Been tied in a knot. The last person actually left a needle in there, so that's just entered my needle collection. So yeah, on top of everything else, a new elastic. We're going to clean and press this thing. So again, if as much as possible, we'll diarize all this procedure on video, and if not, we'll just do still images and text. But stand by, because this has to be ready for the morning of November the 11th. Thank you.